I was trying to like take notes when I was watching it last night to try and think of things to say about it, and like it's all sort of gone by the wayside. Oh, like all of the alpha team of engineering is all humans, which is interesting.
Hmm.
Um, like when they're beaming down to the planet, and like it's Alpha Team, you're with me. Find out why it's so warm in here while I'm gone. Like this is Geordie when they're beaming
Yeah.
down, and no one goes, is all actually fucking Lieutenant what's his face is Bolian, so he probably shouldn't go down to the 21st century Earth thing. I suppose that could have happened off screen, but also,
Yeah. Well, they did actually bring in that kind of mention of the time travel protocol of well, if we have to escape pod it, or we'll have to go and find a little island
Gravet Island, yeah.
then just try and ignore history and try and die out quietly.
Yeah, yeah.
And whoa, that's a heavy fucking protocol to lay on you.
Yeah, look, I mean, I suppose you like this is the crew of the Enterprise. They're used to this sort of shit happening, going back
Yeah.
in time and not interfering with history.
But
This
I'm
is
I'm surprised if your orders in that kind of time travel situation are basically just just die quietly in a corner, um why don't they just self-destruct the ship with everyone? Why do they bother escape podding people?
well, I suppose it's not necessarily die quietly. It's just stay out of history's way.
But I mean, the way to do that would be
order.
to just certainly not have genetic lines that go off and you know staying out of history would be.
Well, I don't think I mean, it's one ship. Like it's one ship of maybe 1,000 people on Gravet Island, which isn't an island that exists. It's not real. Like that sort of limited population is not necessarily going to explode, you're going to butterfly affect some things,
That's
but
what I was going to say. If that's their concern of not butterflying it, why are you just why isn't the order just just blow
because
her?
sentencing 1,000 people to death is a big call.
You just did. You're just doing it passively instead of actively.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just well, we didn't actually kill them completely.
Yeah, but I mean, like it's you can make the same argument about any order that a captain gives as like, well, you're going
Oh,
to die of old age eventually, so just go die now.
oh yeah, but this is I'm just saying it's the Federation glossed over this one a bit. I think it was just it does seem a bit
A lot of the temporal protocols are contradictory. A lot of them don't make much sense. A lot of them are sort of from a limited understanding of temporal mechanics. Is like my theory is that even temporal investigations doesn't really get time travel properly.
Mm.
Like the whole snake eating its own tail. The whole the Cisco being Gabriel Bell, was he always Gabriel Bell, or was Gabriel Bell actually a person
Oh.
that
still
did
mad
stuff?
that they didn't leave that ambiguous.
Yeah, yeah. It's
It would have been such a better story, and it wouldn't have changed the runtime. It wouldn't have changed the yeah. Anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's still like it's still arguably ambiguous, but it's also the whole point of the temporal. So somebody actually pointed it out recently, on a stream, and I could go into a full. We could do a full episode about it, but the Janeway factor, like the Janeway and Endgame in the final episode of Voyager, has breached a bunch of different temporal
Mm.
laws, like like Admiral Janeway goes back, meets her past self, and then gets assimilated by the Borg, but that destroys the Borg, sort of that sort of thing. Should present Janeway be arrested for what her future self did? Because a few episodes beforehand, they had Captain Braxton getting arrested for what his alternate self did.
Mm.
So it's like you've got the temporal laws for this time ship, but also you're not applying them to Janeway
Yeah.
because she's a main character, obviously.
You convinced me Janeway should be arrested immediately.
Look, this is my ultimate hope of a Voyager was that like they would get back like halfway through the final season, and the final season was like tying up all of the loose ends that they needed to do, because they'd already established that the Doctor isn't really considered a person because like he can't get the royalties for the holonovel that he wrote. So that's gonna be that's gonna cause problems. But and like all of the shit that Janeway did in the past, like breaching the Prime Directive, or like dealing with the Equinox, or like all of the stuff that she did, Tuvix, the whole Tuvix of it all of it. Like there's so many things that you could wrap up. Do the Marquee crew get arrested for past crimes because they were criminals against the Federation, even though the Dominion War had been fought and was over, and the Marquee turned out to be fucking right all along that the Cardassians aren't to be trusted. Did they still get arrested for being terrorists? Because they were terrorists. They were literal terrorists.
Does a captain have the right to issue pardons on that level? It's just like we just don't know enough about the Starfleet legal system.
Exactly. Like I am firmly of the opinion that
Tawny.
It's Tawny. I'm firmly of the opinion that when they got back, when Voyager got back, and Starfleet has reviewed the logs, it was a choice between court-martialing Janeway, who was widely considered a hero for bringing her crew back. Like the Voyager was famous by that point. The Voyager project, the one that Barclay worked on, the one that Admiral Paris had worked on, they were basically they were kind of celebrities, and Janeway herself was a celebrity. According to the laws of the Federation, she should have been arrested and jailed and booted out of Starfleet. So their choice was to court-martial her and deal with the fucking public outcry, or promote her to admiral, get her off the bridge of a starship where she can be just sort of a desk admiral.
Well, I mean, in my personal headcanon for Janeway is like, there was no way. As soon as the option of a desk job came along, she was like, yes, please. Because
I'm not saying she wouldn't have agreed with it.
Oh, no.
But I reckon there was a lot of behind the scenes like debating with the Admiralty, just going, we need to get her off.
Yeah, but I can just imagine there was like this kind of like this tribunal like thinking they were dealing with a Kirk, going, well, we're never going to let you on a starship again, and like all the time she's going, oh no, what a terrible thing.
No, wait, stop.
You mean I'm going to have to stay at a desk near my dog?
Don't take this to be any sort of Janeway hate. If there was any ship that I would want to serve on as a Starfleet officer, it would be under Janeway. Like of all of the captains, like they've all got their strong suits, but Janeway would be the one that would look after you more.
Oh,
so.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I think Janeway's defining characteristic, and I think we said this on podcasts before, was like she was very good at her job. That was like, she's not like a loose cannon cowboy or science nerd. It's like, no, she's just a very good captain.
Also, but she cares more about her crew than she does about the rules.
Yeah,
like Picard cares about the rules more than his crew in some ways.
But that's just it. She's good at her job. She understands what she's there for.
Yeah,
she understands why she's there and what she's doing, and primarily to look after the crew as a unit is that.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, I think, but at the same token, she signed up to do a job that would come with, like things like annual leave.
Yeah.
And there was no like, question of her, ducking out on the duty. It's like, oh, well, now everything's gone to shit. I can't just like, claim, well, this is what I was here for. Like, no, I've got to do the job. So for 7 years, she does the fucking job
without guidance from.
Yeah. And like one way or another, whether it was like, hero or traitor or whatever, when she got back, it was like, I'm not doing that again. I'm done. I've done my entire career's worth of that job now.
Yeah. For fuck's sake, I need a holiday. Let me teach a couple of kids that are coming up through the That's the thing. And look, and that like feeds into the prodigy of it all is like she's using her celebrity to get the kids like off the hook for all the shit they did wrong.
Yeah,
and. It's just that's been cancelled again, by the way. Prodigy.
Yeah.
It's not coming back to season 3. Fuck you, Netflix. Fuck you, Paramount. Fuck you all. Anyway, but yeah, like that's my personal thing of and that's why she's sort of overseen by Jellicoe as well, because he's very much a rule follower,
Mm.
and that's why he's basically in charge in Prodigy. But
Oh, well.
the point I was making with all of that is that the temporal directives, the temporal laws that the Federation supposedly enforces are stupid.
Yeah.
They are contradictory and they are done without an understanding of temporal mechanics.
Yep.
And that's the end of the story.